Well, we're going to have a discussion about rights and legislation around transgender issue. This is a sensitive topic, and we are going to try to be sensitive, but it is also one that I think that you can pull a thread and lead to a lot of money, specifically for pharmaceutical companies. And I think that we should do it. Now, the problem is that a lot of times when you question transgender issues, you are accused of being either transphobic or hateful. I am neither. But I do have a lot of questions. So here is the news, Peg, and then we're going to continue to talk about this. Now, a new investigation found that a transgender organization in the UK is offering to send breast binders to children without their parents' permission. This is an organization called Mermaids. It is a charity that promotes trans equality, according to its website. Now, this organization works with public schools. They send people into the public schools, right? And they also train teachers. It's taxpayer funded. So we absolutely have the right to take a look at this. I am not a UK taxpayer, but anything that's state funded, right, we should definitely look at. So let's back up a little bit. What is a breast binder? It is a garment that helps smooth down the breasts of a biological female. Here's an example of one that I found on Amazon. I'm very curious that it talks about this breast binder will make you be free. Can you see the contradiction there, that you're binding something, but then that makes you free? These are popular with transgender males who want to stop their body from showing the mammaries that their bodies are trying to grow, right? Now, in light of this investigation, we're going to talk about transgender issues. And of course, I'm going to tread lightly because I do believe that gender dysphoria exists, right? The belief that like you identify as a different gender. I also believe, though, that there is a very dangerous cancel culture around it that will harm children if we don't try to discuss it. The problem is that people who feel hesitant about such things like pharmaceuticals and body binding are called hateful. I am not hateful, but as a parent, I find this troubling to think about taking a healthy body and doing and making the calculations that this is the right thing to do. So let's discuss that. Okay, so we're going to talk about Mermaids. Here is their website. You can see from their homepage, they are a trans rights group and they do advocacy in schools. According to the Telegraph, they've received over £20,000 in taxpayer money from grants and more than £500,000 from the National Lottery. So the question is, do these organizations push children into choices that they may not make otherwise? And do they push children into dangerous practices, such as pharmaceuticals and body binding? Is there social harm here that we're not discussing because we want to be inclusive and tolerant? I think that is a shared goal that we all have here. And again, I'm trying to be inclusive and tolerant. But even Mermaids admits that breast binders can be harmful. How can they not be, right? You're binding off a part of your body where your internal organs are housed. Plus, your spine is a really important part of your overall health. A study of binder use in adults found that 97% of users had health problems that they attributed to wearing these. But the study was only done in adults because no researcher thinks it's ethical to do this on children. So just think about that for a second. Researchers won't study it.
Right.
But Mermaids still thinks it's okay to do this on children.
90%, 97% of them had health issues when they wear these.
Yes.
97. Oh, well, 3%.
So breathing problems,
So you're
spinal
telling me
issues.
there's a chance
right.
that I won't have a problem.
Yes. Now, in the statement that they said about this, that they released about this investigation, they said this about binding, that some transmasculine, non-binary, and gender diverse people experience body dysphoria as a result of their chest, and binding for some helps alleviate the distress. Mermaids takes a harm reduction position with the understanding that providing a young person with a binder and comprehensive safety guidelines, which tell them that you can't wear it for more than 8 hours a day, you can't wear it when it's hot, you shouldn't wear black because you will overheat, all of these, like you shouldn't do any sports in it, right? Because they know that it's dangerous. They're saying these, along with these guidelines, is preferable to the alternative of unsafe practices and or continued or increased dysphoria. The risk is considered by Mermaid staff within the context of our safeguarding framework, and then more can be found here. Now, those are so they're making a calculation, right?
This is a business is making a calculation.
It's an advocacy group right?
Right.
But they still absolutely
And this is what
make
they're
money.
advocating for. They make money through donations and everything else.
Right.
Right.
And so my question is, just like the COVID vaccines, what is the risk to benefit calculation being done here? So you're saying that doing this to a child will alleviate their stress and be better than X. So then what is that? I feel like if this is going to be happening, go ahead. Yeah.
Philip.
Oh, I was just going to say, so it just, in reading that, it says their staff concludes that
Yes.
this is safe. And it's,
Right.
who are these people?
And by the way-
they're obviously not doing medical research.
Right, because
Yeah.
they just admitted
So
they
who
didn't
are
do a
these
study.
people?
They didn't do a study on children.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just our staff here at Mermaids has decided that the benefit of putting children in these binders is better.
And they're saying that they do it on a case by case basis, but they're really, are they trained people who are making this case? And
Is it like just
because
some guy named Dale that's on staff? It's just like there's
as
like,
the
Right.
producer
because
of
Dale
this
said
show,
it's okay.
as the producer of this show, I've just decided I'm going to end it now. So you guys, see you
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't get that joke
He's going to shut the show down.
because
Never mind.
Okay.
But anyway, the point is that they're not like medical professionals. They're not,
right.
they're not doing this study. They're not studying it on children. They've admitted they're not studying it on children. And
Well,
so
it's
they're-
not. They did not do the breast binder study that found 97% of health problems. That was done by somebody else.
Right.
They will not do a study. And again, my question in here is, okay, you surmise that this is a risk benefit that is favorable in favor of binding for some people, but what is that risk? What is the calculation? What is the proportion, right? The problem here is many, but the Telegraph used Mermaid's online service and posed as a teenager. They told the organization repeatedly that they were a 14-year-old biological female that wanted to present as a male and that their parents would not allow them to use a breast binder. So what did Mermaids do is offer to mail the breast binder to an anonymous address and name or to a friend's house so that the parents wouldn't know.
Jesus,
like, hey, we'll
really?
get you this.
Oh my God.
Even though they said my mom, because this is in the UK, my mom won't allow it. And after saying that many times, they said, it's okay, we're gonna get it to you.
people should be thrown in jail.
So is this how a state-funded organization should behave, or any organization? Is there ever a case for doing this behind parents' back? Now, some people do make this case, saying this child will suffer if their parents stop them from this. We're going to talk more about that later. Now, Mermaids did release a statement and said that, yes, we caught this person that was a journalist and we blocked them. Here's their statement, is that, someone did...
So we won't engage them in a dialogue. We'll just block them.
Right, is that this person did pose possibly a journalist as a 14-year-old in need of support, seemingly with the aim of discrediting Mermaids. The person was caught in the moderation process and since been blocked. So basically, you're safe now on these platforms. The journalist is not there. They didn't say they didn't do it. They did not say that they didn't offer this person.
So they didn't deny it.
They did not deny it. The Telegraph also reports that they were shown chats from children who were actually 13, as young as 13, that were given advice on puberty blockers. And the children were told that these are totally reversible. Now, this is a major debate that you see raging online. So what is puberty blockers? This is a pharmaceutical that stops a preteen from going through transition into adulthood. They have never been approved for use for gender dysphoria, period. They were only approved for precocious puberty, which is like your 4-year-old has a beard, and some treatments of hormone-dependent cancers. They are, in fact, being used to treat transgender children without FDA approval. And some say there's no standard of care. They're kind of used like a cosmetic, like you put on more blush or less blush, depending on how this child's body is responding to them. Please go ahead, David.
I was just going to say they're also used for castration of prisoners that are pedophiles. I won't say that word.
Yes,
They are.
Yeah.
that is true.
Yeah.
And you should look up the litigation around these companies, because a lot of people who took them and had a lot of contraindicated results feel like they were not properly warned about them. Now, the big point of contention is this reversible? Research has, because the people who promote them say it's just like putting a pause on your puberty. If you feel like your body is turning into something that you don't want it to be, you can put a pause on it. And then if you decide, you can come back to it later and you just pick up where you left off. Now, there's not really research on this because nobody will account for how many kids are on puberty blockers. They just won't. Research has shown that for trans women, one downside of a puberty blocker is that it keeps the genitals child size. So then when they want to later, maybe they want to do something with those genitals, there's not enough skin there, so they have to take from other places. And advocates are saying that, again, you can just sort of pick up your normal puberty where you may have had it at 12, now you're just going to have it at 16. Again, that's not completely true. Your body doesn't just pick up where you left off. You may not, for instance, grow as tall as you would have others. Puberty blockers.
Your voice may not be as deep or.
Right. They have been shown to stop calcium being laid down in your bones. So you've lost at least 4 years of that you may have had as an advantage. And studies suggest a drop in IQ. And so how are you going to pick that up, right? Because puberty is meant to mature the brain, not just the body.
Right.
And they also stop a child from feeling natural sexual urges, which happens during puberty. So you're stunting someone's sexuality as well.
Andrew Johnson in our chat says this is just like, Third Reich level experiments. Yeah, look, we in the United States practiced all sorts of horrible things on people and said it was sponsored by the state. Oh yeah, what about eugenics?
Right, and it's extremely dangerous to talk about this because you will be accused of saying you don't support people's gender dysphoria. Absolutely, we are not saying that. We're saying we do not support Big Pharma pushing this on people who it may hurt.
Yeah, and parents not being known about it or told about it and going behind their backs about it. When a kid is like 13 and feels like, well, maybe I want to, whatever. You're going through puberty. You don't know. And so can you wait till adulthood? I mean, look.
Yeah. Okay. Please, David. Go ahead.
That's been my argument. I wish that they would set an age to where it's accepted because that is a thing. But it's like I went through so many stages, and the analogy that I always use is I'm glad that when I thought I was Spider-Man, my parents didn't fill me with web juice, and I reached out to some company that said we'll send it to you in secret with all this. You know what I mean?
Right.
I thought I was going to be many different things as a child, and it's like their brains aren't developed enough for them to know exactly. And then you have TikTok and stuff making things cool.
Well, I do want to talk about, let's put a pin in the social media part. But beyond just taking someone who thinks they would otherwise be a superhero, I am concerned that we are basically taking what otherwise would be the gay community and transforming them into something else, right? Because, and I'm going to get to the data on that in a second. So about these puberty blockers, research as recently as this year has also shown that children who go on puberty blockers are highly likely to go on cross-sex hormones. That means if I decided as a 12-year-old that I am a trans man, I would have blocked my body from growing these boobs for between the ages of 12 and 15 and then started to transition to testosterone. So that means that trans boys take testosterone, trans girls take estrogen. Now, I have two concerns about this. One, those are, again, very dangerous. This is from Helen Joyce's book, Trans, the Sunday Times bestseller. She says, for trans men, they, meaning cross-sex hormones, are associated with high risks of cardiovascular problems, including high blood pressure, heart attacks, stroke, dementia, later in life, liver problems, diabetes, joint problems. Less is known about the impact on trans women, but low testosterone is known to cause fatigue, brittle bones, and high cholesterol levels in biological males, and taking estrogen is likely to rise the risk of some cancers, including breast cancer. Now, she says, even critics of gender affirmation sometimes talk as if the harms all accrue to the children who would otherwise have desisted, while the persisters reap gains, but damage to the brain and bones is bad for everyone, as is the loss of fertility and sexual pleasure. Now, what she talks about is that in the 80s and 90s, they did several studies on boys who showed gender dysphoria or more, I'm sorry, I don't know the nice way, more effeminate qualities. Boys who had, there's a word for it and it escapes me.
How is that offensive?
I just want to say it in a nice way. I don't know.
More female qualities?
Boys who showed more, because that is such a loaded term, as if boys who can't do things that are traditionally, let's not get distracted on them. Those boys who showed themselves to be more effeminate as young children ended up growing out of it and identifying as homosexuals. Now, a lot of those boys who we say, you're not doing boy enough things, you like princesses, you probably are a trans girl, let's give you some puberty blockers. In one study between 2000 and 2007, all of those boys progressed to cross-sex hormones, which may suggest that these were just healthy homosexual boys that were not allowed to be. For instance, in this trans book, she talks about a woman who says, I didn't want a gay son, so I decided I would have a trans daughter, right? Because I don't know why that calculation.
So like a parent can just decide that, like, well, I don't want you to be gay.
Right.
Like, I know that's your nature. You know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to order some drugs off the internet. I'm going to get some of these things, and I'm going to force you to do this at a young age.
So then, do
Giving you
puberty
cancer.
blockers block the physical changes of development, whereby gender dysphoria may resolve itself into a very normal gay person, right? Are we now harming a whole generation of perfectly normal gay people? I thought we had been past that, right? So again, this is what a lot of gender transitioners, detransitioners say, people who were transitioning genders and then felt like, I don't like what this is doing, and went back to their biological gender. They say they sought help. They were told right away, no, you're trans. Here's some drugs. Here's some binders. Let's fight for your right. Right? These people, though, get silenced and bullied online in a big way. Again, like I say, gender dysphoria is very real, but the course of pharmaceuticals here goes with a lifetime of transition, right? You have to be taking these forever. It's expensive and it's a harrowing commitment. And again, a lot of it is done experimentally. So I want to talk a little bit about what's on the ballot this November, because this is an issue that is rallying people up a lot. And they think, oh, yes, I'm going to vote one way or the other. But I don't think either way that politicians are going actually is going to do anything useful. So by some estimates, each child who goes on a lifetime of hormones is worth, I think, upwards of $2 million to Big Pharma, right? Further, so there's a lot of money here for pharmaceuticals.
Of course.
Further, one thing that almost all teens and preteens with gender dysphoria have in common is internet addiction. What do they watch? Influencers who tell them how to get their tea, which is testosterone, how to bind their breasts, how to threaten your parents if you don't get what you want, how to shut people out who speak their concerns to you. The influencers and big tech make a lot of money off of this, right? So these are two things that are contributing to this. Pharmaceuticals make a lot of money, and big tech. But there is no legislation on the ballot to have anything to do with that. So Republicans are absolutely not interested in this issue. Democrats are not either. So you see these two extremes. So in California, for instance, this new bill aims to turn the state into a sanctuary for trans children, meaning that minors can go there, seek transition surgery and medication, and they will not be extradited back to their families. It's a sanctuary state. That's on one hand. On the other hand, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin has proposed new policies in his state to prevent gender transition at all. It would prevent children from using a different bathroom than the one they were assigned, the gender they were assigned at birth. They couldn't participate in sports or use a different bathroom or even change their name, even if the parents agree. So you see how these are laws that are punishing either the parent or the child, but not at all pharma or tech, right? So shouldn't then a politician say, these things are happening, I call for clinical trials. I want real data. I want an estimate of how many children are doing these things, of all of it, of breast binders, of pharmaceuticals, of the organizations that promote. So, but nobody will do that. Or you think about big tech, like, I want to take a look at, think of all the things that get censored. Right.
Or not only censored, or how about promoted? Like, are you actively promoting this stuff to people? Are you actively pushing this to young people? So when they're on TikTok, they're seeing this kind of stuff.
Right. And so maybe they should be looking out for any content that promotes getting around your parents, or any content that promotes how to threaten self-harm, or anything that is absolutely not done. So while we let these big tech, big pharma get away with this, and then we have arguments about things that are actually not going to help.
So you can't drink, right? You're not allowed to drink until you're 21 because you could harm yourself, right?
Yeah.
We know the adverse effects of drinking, right? It can harm yourself and harm other people. You can't fight. You can't join the military. You can't fight in a war until you're what, 18 years old, right? Because can't have you training and learning how to use a gun and how to kill people, right? But you could absolutely actively can be taking these pharmaceuticals, surreptitiously behind the scenes, and we're not going to do anything about it. In fact, we're going to actively promote you doing this.
Right.
Well, and that's what I was going to point out. Like with TikTok, it's like you have basically kids getting millions of views on TikTok. I won't say all of them are pretending, but a lot of them seem to be pretending to have these things, which promotes pharmaceuticals. Yet, if you're anti the pharmaceutical industry, that's misinformation.
Yes.
That's what they want to go after. But if you're pro, then it's fine. Leave it up.
Right.
Yeah.
Someone pointing out 18 to smoke. Yeah, 18. You can't smoke until you're 18. I think we have a few studies on
21.
smoking.
I
Yeah.
think that's 21 now.
Oh, is it? Oh,
Yeah,
I guess it
I think
depends
so,
on
yeah.
the state, I guess. Yeah. Okay.
Now, I absolutely think that there are also really regressive gender stereotypes at issue here. Like, a child who says, I don't want to wear a dress, I want to, play with a baseball instead, is told that, oh, no, boys can't do that. So that must mean you have gender dysphoria. So there is a regression of gender roles in this conversation, but I've gone on too long, and we'll have that conversation another day.
Let us know your thoughts on this story. Holy smokes. I see it's on one side of this is, oh my God, I can't believe this. Next topic, please. Others saying this is an amazing topic. Thank you for discussing this. So, hey, we cover everything here on the
I was
show.
very nervous to talk about it because I don't want to take anyone's experience and pretend that it's not real. Absolutely, it's real for a lot of people. But it's also just really, really scary that you are not allowed to talk about it. And again, all the money that is there.
Well, and also the parents and the breakdown of the family. Can we talk about the family for a second? Like, where did it come down to that you're literally being told you can't talk to your parents about it, and the parents are being kept in the dark about it? Like, you're literally destroying families over this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's disgusting, in my opinion. Let us know your thoughts on that.